Okay.
All right, so it looks like we're live. Don't know if I messed something up, but we'll figure it out one way or the other.
Sounds good.
All right, so it looks like we have a few people that filled out the form. We have Bessie, Lakeisha, Brianna, and Sherry. All right, so let's see. We got Bessie up first. Looks like she came up with 5 leads, one appointment, a couple of seller leads. So 5 buyer leads, a couple of seller leads. And all right, let's see. How did Bessie make that happen? All right. Hey, good morning, Bessie. Hopefully you can hear us. Trying to unmute her mic. If you're speaking, your mic's muted. So maybe she can't hear us. All right. I will move on to Lakeisha. Looks like a couple of leads, appointment. And I will remove Bessie for a minute. Hopefully she comes up here in a second. Then we'll add Lakeisha. Hey, good morning, Lakeisha. Hopefully you can hear us.
Oh, there it is. Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
How you guys doing?
Doing well, doing well.
That's good. Yeah, I got 2 leads from last week. One, I did a buyer seminar on Saturday and got a lead from that. Maybe a few actually. I just didn't note them down because, yeah, I just didn't put them down. But then the other lead came from Op City. They're giving so many rental leads. Well, I'll take them.
Yep.
So I have an appointment with, I have 2 appointments. One this evening from my buyer seminar class, that family. And then I have another appointment scheduled for this weekend.
Good deal. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the buyer seminar you put on.
Mm-hmm.
How did you advertise for it?
I advertised for it. I created an ad for it. I did an Eventbrite ad, and I also ran an ad with a video recording of me.
Okay, and did you do any physical stuff?
I did. I actually printed out like 40 flyers, and I went out to 2 different schools that's in the area where I held the buyer seminar, and I went car hopping, car walking.
So
I don't know what you want to call it, but I handed out flyers to 40. I met 40 people, talked to 40 people, and put a flyer in 40 people's hand.
And this is where the school pickup.
Yes, it was during the school pickup. I figured that by that, if I get there like 20 minutes before school is out, I know that parents are all lined up to pick up their children. And so I just took it upon myself to just go and knock on each car window and hand them my flyer. And actually, I had one person attend the buyer seminar, and she was like, I definitely want you to be my agent. She's like, you're a true hustler. She's like, for you to be out there in that sun all day, at that time, handing out flyers. She was like, I just had to come. So I was very happy to see her. And she's the one who I'm actually taking out to tour homes today.
And you said you actually picked up a couple of leads from that. How did you pick up the rest of those?
Oh yes. So because I was doing that, I actually have one of the members of the PTO team. She is wanting to sell her home and move out in the country. So her and I have been talking to each other on a regular basis. We actually have we have a brunch meeting next week. So yeah, we work closely together because I'm part of the PTO team. She did not know that I was a realtor, but at that point she knew.
So there you go. Mm-hmm. So I think hopefully what everybody's learning from this is, and you hear me say this a lot, but whenever you're in motion, whatever, it's the law of inertia, whatever's in motion tends to stay in motion. So a lot of times we do these events not realizing we're going to pick up collateral leads. Like someone that goes, "Oh, I saw you handing out these flyers. What are these for?" Well, I'm in real estate. I have a home buying seminar. I didn't know you were in real estate. Boom. This person didn't actually attend the seminar, right?
No, she did not.
But after they found out you're doing this type of stuff, now all of a sudden they know who you are, what you do. And the fact that you're even offering a home buying seminar, a lot of people are going to go, well, you must know what you're talking about if you're going to get in front of people and talk about it. Now, how many of these have you done?
I've only did 2 of them, and I plan on doing one once a month going forward.
Okay. So I'm pretty sure this one was the most recent, was this past Saturday. What was the one you did before?
This one was better.
Yeah. And how long ago was the last one?
A couple of years ago.
Okay. So you can kind of see, right? Like when you did it in the past, like if you feel like, well, I didn't do enough last time to get a lot of people, and now I'm doing this.
You cut out.
Oh, did I? Okay. Hopefully I'll start.
There
You can hear me now?
Okay.
All right.
I can hear you now.
But hopefully what people are hearing is like you have to have a strategy for everything you do. It can't be a one-time event and then think, oh, it didn't work, so the process doesn't work. Just like Lakeisha's saying, it might have been a couple of years ago, but she's decided to take on mentoring, coaching, hear from other people, learn more strategies, and say, you know what, I'm gonna try this again, and I'm gonna do a lot more than I did last time. But that's just how we think as human beings. We're always going to try to improve upon something if we are committed to it. So this is a good time to talk about the difference between, commitment and interest. So a lot of people are interested in real estate. And when you're interested, you basically do it when it's convenient. When you're committed to something, you accept nothing less than the results. And, that's that's the biggest difference I see in real estate agents that are successful. When they're interested, they try something, they dibble and dabble, and they're waiting for it not to work so they can say, see, I tried it, it didn't work. Versus someone who's committed, they're like, no, I'm going to do this for a strategy for 12 times. And every time, no matter how bad the last one was, I'm going to make the next one better. And then you start realizing like, man, that's the key to success in anything and everything you do. If you don't want a W-2 job anymore and you want to learn how to actually succeed in any business, I just gave you the secret. It's always going to be trial and error. It's always got to be a strategy that you try to improve upon for the rest of your life. And the easiest way to see this is like through Apple and the iPhone. The iPhone, when it came out, everybody thought it was the best thing since freaking sliced bread. Well, compare your iPhone 16 to iPhone 1, and I guarantee you'll think it's trash right now. So you have to constantly be evolving, no matter what you're doing. If you're thinking, well, I can't find the magic trick. Well, just keep evolving. Keep evolving, keep evolving. And that's what I can appreciate about Lakeisha. She absolutely hasn't given up, and her business is starting to take off in ways that you probably didn't even imagine, right? Like little things that seem like, man, that seemed like something tough years ago. Now it's like, it's part of my repertoire, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, but great job. Yeah. I mean, you're getting appointments and people actually want to see houses. And this person happened to be a halfway decent or well-qualified buyer.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when people are out here saying, oh, they're not out there, they don't exist. I mean, I was sitting in my seminar yesterday and these people were literally like, man, this market is doomed. I'm like, is it really? Are you just been sold this bill of goods and you're buying it right now? They're like, oh, that's a good question. I was like, see, the challenge has been for buyer agents. They never had to present themselves. And the hardest part about understanding what happened with the lawsuit that happened was that people don't realize that the buyer agents were eliminated from the equation. Most of the listing agents, or listing brokers, I shouldn't even say listing at all, just brokers in general who know that you got a list to last, they decided with NAR, as we all know, to just basically cut the buyer side out of the equation. We don't want them getting in front of people trying to pitch them on the idea that they're good buyer agents. So we'll just eliminate that process, because guess what? Buyer agents were having a hard time convincing someone to sign the buyer rep agreement. I remember when the IBS came out, people cried about that thing. I'm like, it's just a set of initials. Like, that can't be that hard. But I'm like, we were getting buyer rep agreement signed. And then I ended up moving to another broker that said, don't worry about it. I was like, my team's already doing it. Why would I not worry about it? And they were like, well, once the contract gets signed, just slide the buyer rep agreement in with the other forms. And I'm like, why? Like, why don't you just do what we're supposed to do? By the time we got sued, when the NAR suit happened, 3, 4 years, 5 years later, I was like, well, I kind of saw it coming, because I didn't understand. DOJ had already told us not to do that. So I was like, why are we sliding it in with the rest of the documents? But I think the point I'm making here is real estate agents don't realize we're in sales. And guess what? The number one thing you got to be able to do when you're in sales, I don't care whether you're a health club professional, whether you're working in car sales, whatever. Every single person that has been in sales, you have to be able to get that person to sign the dotted line. And that's the problem most agents have. I'm scared to get someone to sign the dotted line. So that was supposed to solve that problem. Don't worry about it. Get them under contract. Then once they decide they're serious about a house, we'll get the rest of that paperwork signed. Because the truth is, the buyer agency, the way it is now, the way we're supposed to have been doing it the whole time, it is selling yourself. You have to get in front of people and sell them on the idea that you're the best thing since sliced bread. And if you can't do that and someone else comes along and they can, you're going to miss out. And now you got people getting challenged and they're not used to that. The whole reason why they couldn't even get the IBS signed, now they're all getting nervous and saying this is too much work because they challenged me and I don't know what to say. And so we went through that whole conversation yesterday for a good 20 minutes before I even started my presentation because that was everybody's feedback. How do we handle this going forward? I'm like, you got to realize you're in sales. And now that you know you're in sales, you got to sell yourself. The best thing to do is have a presentation that sells that you're better than the next person that comes along. If you can't do that, you're absolutely right. You're going to lose the business. So, and Lakeisha's really good at it. I mean, walk us through a little bit of how you get people to sign the documents.
Well, I just lay the transparency out there. I just tell them, in the raw, hey, if you want me to represent you, you would need to complete a buyer rep agreement with me. And I let them know what that entails. I let them know, I let them know they have to sign the IBS form as well. I let them know that form lets you know that I hold your best interest at heart above my own. And we dig a little further. I go into how I'm paid, how the commissions are taken care of. I usually let them know this is something upfront. I want to let them know that the commissions is paid by the proceeds of closing. That way they don't think they have something to bring to the table right now. I let them know there's two ways. If we go with a new bill, they actually pay my commission. But if we go with a pre-owned home, then there may be a possibility that I may not get the full commission. And if I don't, are you willing to cover that part? I don't want to put any financial burden on anyone. If I know that my buyer do not have a down payment, then maybe we can wrap that up in your loan. And I let them know what that looks like. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. I mean, I'm hoping everybody's listening to this because that's as simple as it needs to be. It doesn't need to be any more complicated, but exactly what Lakeisha said, that's literally all it takes. Now, I know Tanya will agree with this, but when you're doing your listing presentations, isn't that basically what you're doing?
Yeah, well, yeah, you're giving them your value. You have to basically explain what you're doing, which I was going to piggyback on that for the buyer's side. One thing that I talked to another agent about that they were doing was they're basically telling them, which we all know this, but they're saying like, hey, you're not able to see all these properties on realtor.com and stuff. So they're like positioning it to the off market properties that they're seeing, which is basically the private MLS, even new builds, all of those. Like that's a really big value piece because you want them to sign with you because you have access to all that information. I mean, I know Julian's talked about it before too, but at the end of the day, you're just telling them what your value is to get them to sign.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you're right. The presentation I put together, I mean, it hits almost every objection out there. So Lakeisha kind of gave the abbreviated version, but she uses the entire presentation. And I would say everyone other than me, it probably takes 15 to 20 minutes. I'm going to probably take 30 to 35, but it's my information. So I know exactly what I'm sharing. But if you watch my presentation enough with the video that I recorded, I'm pretty sure you'll have your version down. And after you practice it a few times, exactly what you're hearing Lakeisha talk about. I mean, these are things that, yes, they're off market. I say off market, pre-market, stuff you're not going to see anywhere else, stuff you're not going to find, reduced price homes. They're like, you can find all that stuff. Well, it's not on MLS, but I'm just literally talking about new builds. If they're not in a certain phase of construction, they're not going to be put on the MLS in new builds. But yeah, can you go look at FSBOs too? Absolutely. Can you go check out expireds? Sure. Can you go knocking on doors and see if someone is actually thinking about buying a house or selling their house and hadn't even thought about it before? But you're like, hey, the market in this area here's what your house might list for. You do like a blanket CMA and walk around and just say, hey, take a look at this and tell me, this number would interest you if you could sell it for that. And you'd be surprised. Yeah, you can find off market, pre market, reduced price homes. And I use basically all the stuff that the builders use to get our attention, to get my clients' attention. And if you're using that as your marketing strategy, it works very well. And I'm sure everybody here knows that now. The reason why I push new builds is because if you're not really strong on listings, then use new builds as your listings to market, because you just need you need permission, but there's just not so much red tape as going to another agent and go, hey, can I list your home, or market your home that you have listed? And a lot of them are going to say yes, but the new builds a lot of times show better unless you have $1 million home that another agent has. But that's just another strategy. So that's why I say, listing / new build specialist, because if you're not able to get one, I think the other one will work just as well. So, all right. Well, thanks, Lakeisha. Great job.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yep, you got it. All right. Let's see. We have, looks like Brianna. I think she's here. All right. Hey, Brianna, we'll bring you up. All right. So it looks like you had a couple of leads and buyers and one seller and a closing. So yeah, walk us through that.
Hello, y'all. Yes, so on last Friday, I had a closing from somebody who was referred to me from another realtor who typically only sends me her Spanish-speaking leads. But in this case, this realtor was going on vacation. She's now a grandmother and all these other things. So she sent this guy over to me, and he was one of my harder clients. We had his deal basically had to go through a non-probate court, but it was because he deeded the house over to his minor daughter. So we had to get an attorney involved to try to sell his house on behalf of his minor daughter. And then we had to set up an account where all the proceeds went to an escrow account for his daughter. And when she turns 18, that money will then be hers, apparently.
Did they have to do that through a trust?
So they created a court registry account.
Wow.
Yeah. So he actually tried. That was actually what he was intending on doing when he initially went to the courthouse. He filled out this paperwork to try to create a living trust. That's what he thought he was doing, because he followed somebody on Google or YouTube, I guess. And he was trying to create a living trust for his daughter, but instead he deeded the house over to his daughter. Although this is illegal to do in Bexar County and the state of Texas, apparently. The county clerk filed the paperwork, which solidified the transaction, essentially. So anyways, finally got past that. If you need an attorney that does probate work and stuff like that, let me know. Michael Bell, he's the one to go. But yeah, we finally got that one closed. And then in between that, I was looking for a few options for a buyer who was referred to me from my sphere of influence. She has a lease that doesn't end until March. And initially, when we first looked at the paperwork or the contract, we saw that there was going to be a $3,400 termination fee, which was fine at first. But then she realized that she apparently had some type of special when she first signed in to the lease, and it was spread out through the year. So if she terminates any earlier than that, she actually has to pay back all that money that is remaining from that special as well. So it turned out to be about $6,000. So we're kind of waiting to see if how she can collect that money from her 401k, because she does have something in place for that. And she's hoping to get more information on how to use that money, as whether it be towards the termination or towards her down payment. That's kind of what she's trying to figure out with the company itself. But yeah, anyways, so I say all that to say this. I was looking for options for her for builders that would cover some of that cost. And I spoke with Starlight Homes. They offered me an opportunity to do an open house for them, which happened to be for 3 homes all lined up next together. So I marketed that as a block party, a neighborhood block party. So that was fun. And I would say, unfortunately, I only had 2 people, but fortunately for me, those 2 people were good leads.
That's a successful open house. So. Oh, did you freeze? Uh-oh.
I think so. Yeah, that's a great open house. Usually, if you have 5 people come in, they already say they have realtors too, is great, that don't have, any representation or anything.
No, exactly. Yeah, and that's when I'm sharing my open house training with everyone. I was just talking about this yesterday. I said if it's my listing, of course, I expect 30, 40 people there, but I market to other realtors when it's my listing. If it's not my listing, I ain't marketing other realtors. That's why a lot of times they don't end up there, because I only market to buyers and find a way to market to only buyers. So Bree's following the checklist. It's only 2 people show up, but I'm like, to me, that's a successful open house. If one person shows up, it's successful. So that's why I'm like, you get 2 people that actually are decent leads. That's actually beyond successful. That's actually a great open house. Like you said, I've had 6, 7 people show up, and maybe one person out of the 6 or 7 is not represented or actually in a position to actually be ready to go buy a house. So, no, I think her whole story is pretty interesting. I mean, if you think about all of the stuff that just happened, for everyone that's part of the mastermind, these are things that you're going to hear that are going to change the way you do business over time. Because if you think going forward, what if I do run into a situation like that? Well, she just said Michael Bell, the attorney, like, that's gold for anyone who's thinking, I would have never thought about that. But now I remember Bree's story, and this ever happens again, I'm going to go, hey, let me go back to the group, and who was that talked about the situation with probate? And I'm like, oh, it was Bree. She's talking about Michael Bell, blah, blah, blah. It's like, bingo. That's the advantage of having the mastermind. That's the reason why we like to do this. So hopefully everybody's kind of seeing that process makes this entire process makes a whole lot of sense when you think about it from the standpoint we learn exponentially when there's more people versus linearly one-on-one. So
Yep, there's power in numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so looks like Sherry, you had one appointment you went on, and let us know how that went. All right, so where's Sherry?
Good morning.
Hey, Sherry.
Am I still muted?
No,
Nope.
you're like,
okay. All right. So, Sphere of Influence, one of our friends, they're not really sure what they want to do. We went and looked at the house. I think that we're going to hold off and listing it and put it maybe on in the spring. They're okay with kind of sitting on it for a little bit. But I've also had a couple that I've been talking with, a couple of buyers, and kind of now all of a sudden everybody's kind of hot and heavy. I don't know if they want to get it in before the end of the year. So I've been busy with that, trying to locate homes for a couple of them. One is a younger couple. Both are Sphere of Influence. I will say I went back this week because I kind of felt like I needed to go back and do a couple of the lessons again and just kind of make them stick in my head. And I have a question, and I don't know if y'all, but it seems like every time I do a paid ad, I get these, I don't know what they're even called. They're bogus, that they say you're not in compliance and your Facebook is going to be shut down because you've done something. And I've called.
ignore them.
Yeah, I ignore them, but if they make a response on one of my posts, I've got to get them out of there. I've got to report them. And I don't know, this is new to me. And I'm like, does this happen on every single ad that you run on Facebook?
No, they don't. So, if they're putting posts replying to post on your actual ad, yeah, you got to delete those. But most of the time, they're just sending you a messenger message that basically says, these are just these bots that are out there. If you look at them closely, they have nothing to do with Facebook.
Yeah. I literally had to hire somebody because I'm, like I said, that part of the internet is just, I don't get it. So I'm like, I want to make sure that I'm not doing something that I'm not supposed to. This was a listings to leads ad that I had done. And again, they just blow up. And I was like, stop.
Yeah.
And
I probably get 5 or 6 of those a day, but I run multiple pages. There's nothing to them. The stuff like this, I don't even know, other than because it's technology and there's no way to stop them from spamming and all that craziness. There's not a whole lot to do. But the real question is, are you getting leads? Are you running paid ads and getting actual leads with names, phone numbers, and emails?
I have not yet. Now that's my deal, and I really just kind of made up my mind that I'm going to spend X amount of dollars on paid ads for a month and see where that takes me. And this one's been running 5 days, and so far nothing. And it's a buyer lead on new builds.
Okay, so I'll take a look at it. Man, I'm trying to think. Like, there's some that you can just pick, but that's a good topic to go over. I'll probably record a video and send that into the community because I think it's going to take a long time to explain that. But Facebook leads I used to train on Facebook leads all the time. I think when I first met Tanya back in 2018 or 19, that's how I got everybody in the door. How to run Facebook leads and get X amount of people for under $5 or something. But it's a long process, and the reason I use listings to leads is because it shortened that process for me. Right. And they were able to get leads for like $2 to $3. Right. But there's a philosophy behind it. And
so I took their ad, and then I changed out the picture. I put one of the builders over here in New Braunfels. I used one of their homes on it because, to me, I want them to know that I'm promoting their homes as well.
Yep.
I think that helps me with the builders.
That does. It's a great philosophy. Yep.
So I've been, I've kind of been dependent on my sphere of influence, and I'm not by any means forgetting them because that's kind of my bread and butter. But I also wanted to, expand on the social media and push these new builds, because to me that's easy money. You get a client for life because you get in there, you get in a neighborhood. Not only you get to know that client. I went to the Dusty Boots tour yesterday overall, and turns out that Jennifer Haymaker lives over here in New Braunfels and lives like 2 houses down from one of my clients out in Wasser Ranch.
Nice.
So,
well, there you go. Yeah, I mean,
small world.
the law of inertia, man. When you're out there in motion, you're just going to keep picking up and snowballing. And that's what I want everybody to understand. Like, you got to think of this like a practice. Like, if you think of 10 years in the business and someone said, what's your business plan to get better every year for the next 10 years? That's literally what your business is about. Whereas a lot of times people get to the industry and they go, well, am I going to just figure this out? Is someone going to help me learn this? Like, you're going to get a lot of help along the way, but you have to have the goal that I'm going to get better every day, for 10 years. Because even when I was training in karate, when I was training in sports, they were like, so you hit the 10-year mark, you're just basically a rookie at it, right? You're not necessarily first year, but you have to plan to be doing this for 10 years. And what does a game plan look like? What does your entire plan for the entire 10 years look like? Because if you talk to a doctor or a lawyer or a pilot or an engineer, I mean, every one of them are thinking, man, I know how much training I have to do before I actually get good at what I do. And it's years. Like, most of your doctors have to go to 4 years of, undergraduate, then med school, 2 years with 1 year with an internship, 1 year with the residency. They literally spend 10 years getting ready to be a doctor. And so we just have to take real estate with the same level of seriousness. Shouldn't take that much time to get ready, maybe 2 years, 3 at the most. And then, the next 7 years, you're just putting everything into place. And for some folks that, like when you guys met with me, it's like you're saying, hey, I think I might have missed some things that I should have picked up from somewhere else, but I didn't quite know. But my goal is to make sure that we, fill in those gaps. And I'm sure you're seeing there's there's a lot of places I got to fill in these gaps to get my practice back where I want it to be. But yeah, you're definitely on the right path. I think that's anything that you're seeing that you're willing to improve upon. That's the message everybody needs to pick up on. So no, I think it's great. Even if it's 1 or 2 leads at this part of the year, and that somebody's going to be willing to do something in the spring, you're planting those seeds,
Right.
And it's really how the game works. So, all right, well, good job. Anything you want to add, Tanya?
No, I think that's awesome. Like Julian said, you're definitely creating some momentum, which in turn gets you leads and everything else. And you're going to be getting that 7% buyer here soon in one of these new builds.
Yep. That's going to happen. Yep. Just keep working them. It's going to happen. All right. All right. Thanks, Sherry. All right. Let's see. All right. Looks like hopefully Bessie's with us now. I'll add her to the stage. If not, then I'll wrap it up. Can you hear us, Bessie?
Yeah, I don't know why my camera's not working, but that's technology for me.
Okay. No worries. We can hear you. All right.
Okay. So the 2 of the leads did come from listen to lead ad that I ran on a BART listing, and I got those two buyers from there. So we at least talking, and the phone numbers and everything was good. So we're talking. Not quite ready yet. And the other 2 was from vendor, Agent Pronto.
Okay.
So they send me leads. They have not contacted these people. So those people, so it's like they do answer their phone and everything. So we're talking at least. So, but they hadn't told anybody that they were ready. So I don't know where they got the leads from. But anyway, there's 2 leads that's in my database.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right, you said it was Agent Pronto?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh,
They've
interesting.
a few lately.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to hear you guys are venturing into other lead sources, because now, so it's really easy to say when I talk about stacking and layering your lead sources, you guys are understanding, like, yes, until you hit that magic number of whatever your goal is, you're gonna have to find lead sources that help fill up your bucket so that you have leads to work with. And you're right, some of them aren't going to be perfect, but again, you're building up your pipeline, planting those seeds, and getting ready for the future as you're finding the leads that are ready now.
Yes. And one I actually did a Zoom buyer's presentation too, so that was different. But
How did that go?
it went pretty well. I was able to just do the slides from your presentation. I just showed them the different slides and talked about them, so it went pretty good.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
And that's the key. And I'll be honest with you, some people, they look at my slides and go, it's a lot in there. I'm like, I know it's a lot for me, but I understand the information. But I promise you, the more you do it, I always try to explain, it's not just a presentation, it's also a learning tool for the agents. So because the more you do it, you're going to be like, you know what, maybe I need to call June and ask him what that means if you're not really clear. But it's a learning opportunity, because once you see it several times and you're like, I keep getting the same questions from people, I probably should know that answer. And eventually you'll learn that answer. And sometimes you dig even further. I think Bria and I talked about the stuff she was sharing with me, or sharing with everybody about the probate. Some of those answers I just don't know. And I'll be like, Google that shit. And it's like, well, you got a good point. So, like, I don't know everything, but if you ask me first, and I'm like, let me give you the little bit of guidance I can, and I might point you in the right direction. But the onus is always going to fall on you to do the due diligence and get the answer. Sometimes I'd rather you come back to me and tell me what the answer is, because I'm like, all right, I can vet it for you. If nothing else, if you share information you found from someone else, I go, yeah, that definitely won't work, because I've seen what happens when you try it that way. Versus I don't know exactly how it works, but I might know how it doesn't work. So the due diligence is always going to fall on the agent. So whenever you guys tell me you're out there looking around and shopping and finding things and come back with certain things, I'm like, perfect. That's awesome. So yeah, good job. I'm glad to hear that. So
Yes. And the two seller leads is basically from pre-foreclosure list I had started. Just I actually I'm just seeing how that's gonna go. So but I did get two to respond to a text, so we're starting there. So
Bingo. So I'm gonna be honest with you. A lot of times with most of these things, I just don't like picking up the phone and talking to people.
right,
So I use text messages to screen out everybody.
yeah,
And
so that's started.
and people think like, you think it works? I did this with a wholesaler 5 years ago before everyone was using text. And the wholesale folks were like, yeah, that technology probably isn't going to get us the best results. I'm like, I don't agree. I think it does just as well. And they're like, we'll see. So they had, and this is why it didn't make any sense. They had to hire like 8 people to do cold calling. And I said 8 people. I said, what do you offer them? And they told me the percentage they offer the cold callers if the deals go through, and et cetera, et cetera. I said, so how big is the list that you guys are using? They said about 5,000 names. I said, okay, so out of 5,000 names, how many typical offers are you able to make? They said about 8. Said, okay, so let me run 5,000 names today through my software and see what happens. So yeah, we got a lot of people that shot us down, but by the end of the day, we had 8 offers. Half of those that shot us down, I said, so how do you guys close on that? They said usually about 2 out of the 5,000. We literally had one person that says, Alex, 2 people accepted the offer that we made. She goes, I got to double check that. There's no way you hit the exact number in a day that it would take my cold calling team 2 weeks to figure out. I'm like, it works. It's text messaging. It may sound new to you, but this is all I've been doing for the last 3 years using High Level, which I built the platform. I learned how to go through all the messages, split testing to figure out which ones are working. And I'm like, I found the simple ones, and I got a lot of these from talking to other gurus in the marketing industry. And I said, you know what, if I switch the message up a little bit and turn it into a wholesale message, it'll sound like this. If I do it for pre-foreclosure, it'll sound like this. If I do it for expires, it would sound like this. Expires are still the hardest. They're the ones that even in text messages, they will curse you out. They're like, leave me alone. I don't want a freaking agent. Stop bothering me. But out of every 100 names you get, one person might say, sure, I'll take a shot. But, once you find that strategy, text messaging works fine. A lot of people don't buy it or don't believe it, but that's fine. If you want to go back and follow up with phone calls afterwards, that's up to you. I personally wouldn't waste the time because I don't like people chewing me out over the phone.
Right.
But no, fantastic. I'm glad to hear you going out and doing these different strategies. This is the time of the year where you want to try these different things, because when the season rolls back around for listings, again, it doesn't matter whether we're lower in inventory or not, or higher in inventory. Listing season's always going to be, I always say tax day to Labor Day, but I mean, it's not literally April 15th. I would say March, if people start coming to want to put their homes on the market. That's probably perfect. By the time April starts, the season's rolling and people are coming in, because you can ask pretty much every title company, the most closings happen in June and July. So that tells you most homes are being sold in April, May, or contracts, or homes are going under contract April and May. So we know that's with a lot of listings, but what are the other strategies we can be using? So I'm glad you guys are going out of your way to make those happen. So, all right. Well, good deal, Bessie. We'll appreciate all your info and everybody for sharing everything that makes this mastermind what it's designed to be. Because obviously, even some of the stuff I don't really hear or know myself, you guys are able to share, and it makes a big difference for everybody on the call. Anything you want to add, Tanya, before I jump into our assignment? I want to show everybody what it was supposed to look like last week, but anything you want to share before I do that?
No, you covered it all. This, like I said, thanks everybody for sharing all your valuable insight. This is great. I mean, if anybody rewatches it, they'll get a lot of value out of it because of everybody else.
Yep. And that's the key. All right. So I'm going to jump into the assignment from last week. I don't even think I had it up, but it's up now. And when you see it, let me refresh that if that's the issue. All right. So if you didn't get a chance to create that and you need an example, now you have it. So bottom line is, for every listing, every time there's a listing, I literally just put it in here. Just as listing signs go up to help a house sell by drawing in potential buyers for the listing agent, how about doing the same as a buyer rep? Once the house sells, ask the new owner, your buyer client, if they mind you putting a sold by me sign in the yard. Basically, sold by J Prime Realty Group or sold by whatever. I think text codes will probably work better in this situation because text info too, you know, you might not get the right verbiage in there. I might change this to say scan code for details or scan code to see if you qualify, or see what you qualify for, something along those lines to get people, or to take our quiz. That's for some odd reason, scan QR code to take qualifying quiz. That might be a even better message because I've noticed that people thinking like, well, quiz for what? See if you qualify. Scan the code, see if you qualify for, you know, 0 down. Whatever you can do to put in. Actually, I think that's exactly what I'm gonna put there. Scan the code, see if you qualify for 0 downs. And then all of a sudden, people are gonna scan the code, take the quiz, see if they qualify, right? And that's kind of the goal. Now, if you're not sure where to go, this is one of my favorite. Uzi Marketing out of Houston. They ship pretty fast, but everything they do is pretty cheap. They have like some of their signs are really, really inexpensive. Like they used to do 100 signs, the 18 by 12, not the 18 by 24, but the 18 by 12. They used to do 100 signs for $100. I think it's a little bit more than that now. But if you go to Yard Signs, you get to pick which ones. So 18 by 24, 12, the bandit signs, that's what they call them, best deal. And if you get 100, I forgot the price, but basically $3.14 each, but you don't necessarily have to get 100. I wouldn't order 100 of these because you're not going to have 100 homes that you sell at one time ever. If you're doing that, you're doing more homes than Dayton Strader, like 4 times as many. I might order 20 of these max, maybe even 10, because if you have 10 homes on the market in any one or sold in 1 month, because I'm running these signs maybe 30 days at a time. So, and that's kind of what the whole point of what I'm saying here. It just boils down to post your sign with every new sale for 30 days. You know, it may stay a little longer because your client might say, oh, I don't mind your sign staying there. They may not say anything, but this is kind of a template. I'll have it in Canva. And again, I'm going to change the language up and maybe have a couple of versions so you can go in there and basically just change it up for yourself. Put it in the yard after you sell a house. Go to Uzi Marketing and order 5 signs, 10 signs, and then you'll have this. And again, it's not going to, this message isn't going to change. So it doesn't matter what house you put it in front of. It's just going to be, hey, take this quiz, see if you qualify for 0 down, something like that. And they go here, they take that, and you just have to make sure your QR code takes them to a Google form that you create. So if you create the Google form, use the link to create your QR code, then you build your sign and you're good to go. Then from there, if you guys don't know, I'm going to add Valerie Wilshire's information once again. She has what they call Reaching Neighbors, really good platform, but she can get the cost of the postcards down to like 60 cents or something. You could literally put the same QR code on there, or your contact information or whatever it is. And she will basically do like circle prospecting from whatever house that is. So every time a house sells, you can get 100 postcards for 60 cents and they will send them out for you. So, and they'll keep following up with your clients for you over time. So again, you like have a house that you sell, they will not only send out something to remind that client, but they'll send out mailers to, she said they can do as many as you want. You just have to have a mailing list, but within 100, you know, I would say stick to about 100 people every time you do a house. That way you're not spending a whole lot of money, $60 for every time you sell a house. And then you got 100 prospects right around that house that are driving by that neighborhood, looking at this sign that you just created and getting these flyers or these postcards in the mail. So again, more ways to get more touches. So everybody like that idea? Any thumbs up? Yep. All right. All right. But that was kind of the goal for last week. And let me see where we are this week. Target move up buyers by getting them approved for the next first home. All right. So I'll put all this contact in here, the context in here for this one, and we'll see where it goes. And I think Sherry brought up a pretty good point. Like, if you're wondering, like, you know, some of the things that maybe when we first got started, you were a little bit too nervous to try, or you're like, I didn't think maybe I didn't do as much work as I thought I should. Then there's nothing wrong with going back and looking at some of these times, because a lot of this is going to start repeating. For anyone who doesn't have a YouTube channel, I'm probably going to bump this up because pretty much it's 100% ready to go. But this is going to change your life pretty much. you just got to understand it's a long-term strategy, not short-term. If you pick up a couple of clients in the first couple of months, just feel lucky. But once you get enough content out there on YouTube and you start doing your YouTube channels the way they're supposed to be done, you're going to notice that people are going to start seeing your videos and they're going to start reaching out to you. But you got to do all the optimization. You got to do the video optimization. You got to do the channel optimization. And then you got to get the word out using shorts and creating little commercials through your shorts to send back to your channel so that they can binge watch your longer material. So with that, I'll wrap it up for today. And if you guys have any questions, be sure to go to the community and shoot them out that way. And from there, we will call it a day. All right, guys. You guys have a great week, and we'll see you next time.